as a defense, when you're on your own team, there are certain things you come to know about your own offense, certain players in the offense. What are some of the things that you understood about Mike Glennon in terms of his skill set or any of his tendencies that you knew you would be able to kind of take advantage of or manipulate in Sunday's game?
Yeah, obviously having experience with guys, him a little bit more. But, he's been away from here for a few years, and he's been a part of a couple different offenses. And so, our big focus was just to try to make sure we execute the game plan that we want to play against that entire offense, because they had some weapons that they could attack us with. And I'm really proud of our guys in doing and executing our plan.
Next question, Dan Weeder.
Sean, by your metrics, am I correct that they didn't have a single explosive play the entire afternoon?
Yeah, that's right.
When you went back and went through the film, what struck you about the full 4-quarter complete performance that you guys put together?
Yeah, I think it was just a total group effort, a lot of energy and juice from the sideline, from the players on the field, and really just great execution of the plan and the techniques and the details of what we were trying to get done. And like we've said here a bunch of times, when we do that, we can be pretty special. And that was a special performance those guys put out there.
To have that juice and that focus, in week 17 and where you guys are, what does it tell you about this closing stretch that your guys have been able to put together, really starting with the first Minnesota game in a lot of ways?
Yeah. It just tells us the character of our guys, the character of our coaches that we got over here. And our mentality on defense has always been a 1-0 approach, and so we're not changing that. And that will be our focus. And those guys have bought into it really all year, and whether we've had a good game or a down game, they kind of snap back in and they understand the task at hand for the week. And that's that's the expectation this week too.
Next question, Kevin Fishbane.
Hey, Sean, with Jalen Johnson, where have you seen the most growth in his game from year one to now? And what are some of the next steps for him as he enters this offseason?
Yeah. One thing that sticks out for me is his preparation. I think he's really understanding how to prepare at the outside and really understanding all the little tips and tells that we give him, whether it's an alignment, a split, who it is, a formation. He's seen a bigger picture. So I think that's been a big jump for him. And I think the next jump for any of these guys that they continue to grow in the system is to keep learning it and keep learning, more roles and more spots. And I think that'll be a good balance for him. And he's smart enough to be able to do that. And then, it's always going to be a technique and fundamental focus. And for him, it's going to be the ability, just like everybody, to strain for 60 minutes. Because when you want to be the guy, which he is our guy as the number one corner, you may not get many targets, but the ones you get are going to count. And so that's what he's got to make sure that he understands, and he's doing a great job of that.
Next question, Larry Mayer.
Hey, Sean, when you guys played the Vikings a couple of weeks ago, you were able to hold Kirk Cousins to his lowest passer yards in his career, in a career start, and you did it without any of your 4 starting defensive backs. So I was just kind of wondering, what was the key to that game? And when you're playing the same opponent so quickly, especially after you've had success, do you have to mix things up? Do you pretty much go with what you did, or do you have to show them new looks?
Yeah, no, you can't go with what you did. I mean, you could, but you gotta be able to mix it up. And our plan will be the same. We're going to continue to try to mix it up. And the first thing is going to be starting with that running game. We got to make sure we stop the run effectively. And then when we get a chance to rush the passer, which as we've seen the last few weeks, we don't get many chances at it. But when we get a chance to rush the passer, we got to make sure that our rush and our coverage and our disguise is working together to create some issues. And obviously with Kirk Cousins as a quarterback, but they got some skill guys at receivers that we got to address as well. So it'll be a good challenge for us. I think our guys are excited for it, and hopefully we can. I think we will rise to the challenge.
Mark Potash.
Hey, Sean. Besides Travis Gibson's sacks, beyond that, what has made the biggest impression on you as far as his progress this season that indicates that he's going to have some staying power in the league?
Yeah, I think he's continually getting stronger with his hands at the point of attack, and that has been a strength of his, and he's getting better there. So I think that's one big thing. And then, like I said, he was a D end, in college. So to understand the drops and the coverage parts of our system, he's taken much more maturity and ownership in that. And then I think that's also shown for him.
His snaps have been lower the last couple of weeks. Is he a situational player, or does Is there another level for him to get at?
Yeah, I think all of our snaps have been lower. We haven't, I think we played 51 or 53 snaps the last game. So the snap count is just a matter of the rotation and how a game flow goes. And so, we still rely on him and obviously you see his growth and we're going to continue to do that.
Right. But his percentage is down as well. So that's what I was curious. Is that just a situational thing, or can you rise above that? And, if you don't have Mac or whatever in the future, or Quinn, whatever, can he step up and be that, more heavier down guy eventually?
Yeah, we hope so. We hope so. That's going to be up to him. And I think the way he's trending and the way he's growing in his defense and taking the coaching and accepting those responsibilities, we certainly hope that he can continue to develop that way.
Mark Grody.
Sean, what did you think about the build-up to Robert Quinn's record-setting sack last week, where he had a couple of near misses and all the players were on him the entire game? What was your thought process watching that game from upstairs and Robert Quinn?
Well, like I told you guys last week, everybody's aware of it. And, from a play calling perspective, you do the best you can to make sure that, he's getting his shots on goal. And, realistically, we only had 11 of them. We had 11 pass attempts. And, that's hard to do what we did there. We had 4 sacks, 2 takeaways, 3 forced fumbles. And so, that's a hard thing to do. So, the biggest thing for us has been to make sure those guys remain patient. And we talked about it today in our presentation with the guys is, we got to earn the right to go rush the passer. And the way you earn that right is you got to stop the run first and then get them in some situations where they want to throw the ball. And those guys did that. And they optimized their opportunities last week, and Robert included, so he stayed patient with it. And, when he got his chance, he got one. And then, I actually thought he was going to get that sack earlier. The one we had the penalty. I have no idea how he got the ball off, but that was great, obviously, execution by them to get that ball off.
Is that boring or easy for a defensive play caller when all they're doing is running the ball play after play?
Oh, it's indifferent. It's my job to make sure our guys are in position to make the plays that we need to make. And so if it's a heavy run game, I got to make sure we call the game that way. If it's a heavy pass game, I got to make sure I call the game that way. So for me, it's indifferent, but I'm sure from a player perspective, a pass rush perspective, it can be frustrating.
Alex Shapiro.
Hey, Sean. Eddie Jackson is a guy who drew a lot of attention earlier in the season for tackling issues. It clearly bothered him, and he dedicated himself to getting better. 16 games into the season, how would you assess his development, his growth in terms of tackling?
I think it's been awesome. I think, like you said, he's made a conscious effort at it, and it's shown up in a positive way. His play speed, I think, is palpable on the tape over the last, 6 or 7 weeks, since he's been back, which is a credit to him. The consistency at the effort at which he's running to the ball is positive. And then when you do that, good things happen. So he's making a lot of good plays at the ball. He's staying up. And a guy like him, he's always raking at the ball, which is something that we're trying to preach. And you saw, I thought, somebody asked me the question about him last week of the frustrations he's got to go through. There's a prime example of it again. I thought that was a questionable one. And obviously, the rules are the way they are, but I think that could have been a 50-50 fumble and a touchdown for him again. So that's 4 or 5 now in a matter of 3 years. So, I think he's just continuing to work at it, and you see it, and you see the effort that you see, and it starts in practice because that's the effort that he's playing in practice with over the last couple months. And so, I'm happy for him.
Pat Finley.
Hey, Sean, you've coached in a couple of different regimes here. I'm curious what you've learned about how to manage your emotions when coaching turnover does happen, and how to calm down, not yourself, but maybe those around you who might be worried about you.
Yeah. It's not just here. If you enter coaching, it's part of the business. And so it is what it is. And the only thing you control is what you do is your job and the job role that you have. And so that's always been my mentality. It'll always be my mentality. And that's what it is. I think my wife is a saint for having to go through that, and she's an expert at it, but it's not easy. It's human nature, right? If somebody, I don't know if you're married or not, Pat, but if somebody kept asking for your job, I think your wife would ask you questions and say what's going on. So it's normal, but it's part of the profession. And I got a great support system at home, and I'm blessed to have that.
Two more. Dan Wiederer.
Hey, Sean, another Travis question for you. Bill has described him all year as very coachable, and he's been on multiple occasions talked to us about his sort of gratitude to be around Khalil and Robert and have that. I'm just curious, as a young player, what you've noticed about, I guess, his in the moment understanding of the guys around him that and help him, and his ability to invest in his own growth very early.
Yeah, I think that's a great question for him. But I think all those guys kind of understand who's in that room with them, and we have a great parity in that room. We got some older vets and then some very young guys, and they've all been humbled enough to understand that, hey, when they talk, you better keep your mouth shut and listen, because there's some tips and some clues that these guys will be able to give you. And so I think they've all taken to that. And obviously the way Coach Shuey runs that room has been tremendous because they've allowed for that interaction. And so, I think he's done a great job of being that sponge. And I mean, what an opportunity for a young guy to be in a room with two potential Hall of Famers.
Last question, Herb Howard.
Coach, Sean told us that coming into the game, you guys weren't too terribly threatened by their vertical passing game, talking about the Giants last week. Did that factor into your decision to dial up that blitz on the first play of the game?
No, I think a lot of things go into that. I try to, not giving you guys too much of my process of game planning and everything, but, we try to plan a lot of situations in advance and make sure our players are prepared. And the first play of the game is one of those situations that we try to plan and make sure they're prepared. And, I think it's a huge play in a game because it can be a momentum swinger one way or the other. And you saw the fruits of that in that game.